Good evening. Tonight I'll be speaking about the Hakuhodo S122 as well as a few other dense eyeshadow laydown brushes. This is $68 on the Hakuhodo website. It's angled but not nearly as angled as the S125 or any other angled eyeshadow brushes you can think of. It's labeled as a contour and highlight eyeshadow brush, although I don't use it for that. And it's made out of Canadian squirrel. It's soft but has a good amount of firmness and elasticity, and it's quite dense. Canadian squirrel is known to be more springy than regular blue and gray squirrel as well as red squirrel. It's good for powders only still. Squirrel in general is just excellent for powder. You can't use it for any other product because the hairs are so fragile and delicate that they'll just break if you use it with liquids or creams. Canadian squirrel can handle rougher uses just like with goat. And compared to the Hakuhodo Canadian squirrel, theirs is more red, and I would associate theirs with red Canadian squirrel, and then this Hakuhodo one right here is just regular Canadian squirrel. So I'm going to show you the slant and everything now. As you can see, it's not very slanted. It's quite dense, and let's see here. Dense, and I'll do the twirly motion. So the coloring on the Hakuhodo one actually just reminds me of regular pine squirrel. Like if you have the Hakuhodo BP, I think it's the 35, I think. The flat shader pine squirrel brush from them is extremely soft. I would say they're about the same softness. And that one is made of pine squirrel, like I just said. It's the coloring is the same, I would say. Oh, the lighting. Okay, and so like I mentioned before, I personally would not use this for contouring or highlighting my eyelids since my eyes aren't that big, but if you have larger eyes, then you could try it out for that. I did want to mention that this, along with the Eyeshadow 16 and the Hakuhodo Takumi T6, are great alternatives for all over eyeshadow laydown as opposed to MAC 239 or any flat shader that you can think of. Because if you have if you have an eyeshadow that's harder to pick up, or it's like harder to show up on your eyelids, as then you're gonna want to use brushes like these. Let's see. Like the MAC 239 or any other flat shader brush, those are great for just getting on the lower lid. This stuff like this is great for all over lid. I'm saying like if you use an eyeshadow primer and then after you use that primer you want to cover the eyeshadow primer's tacky base with a matte shadow, or I mean even if you want to use a shimmering one, like you can use this too. So generally I use matte shadows after I use the primers on my eyelids. So I would go in with this or the Hakuhodo T6 or the Eyeshadow 16. So I've showed these before, but they look like this. They're both very dense, and dense brushes will pick up way more product than a flat, less dense brush, obviously. And the one thing that does bug me about the S-line is that the bottoms chip very easily right here. It's slanted, so you can't store it like this or else it'll definitely chip. And I do put clear nail polish over the slanted bottom every time I get one of these S-series, but sometimes they chip before I get to do that. They chip so easily, so that's really irritating. If you're not a fan, or if this is something that like really bugs you, then I wouldn't recommend this series. But if you like some of the brushes from the line that they do not include in any of the other lines, just like this S122 or the S125, there are quite a few brushes that they have in the Vermilion series that they don't include in any one of their other lines, then I'd say go for it. You just have to be very careful with storing it because, you know, chipping here, and then every time it chips, I die a little bit on the inside. So yeah, you're going to want to store it laying flat down, and you're going to want to store it to, when you store it, you want to make sure that the tips are not touching any one of your other brushes, because even if you've put like clear nail polish over it, I'm very paranoid, so I would definitely not lay it down like this, because even with a matte, sometimes they can roll around and then it would hit another brush, so you just have to be very, very careful. So you'd want to do it like this, just lay it down like that. And like I said earlier, these are great for picking up those matte shades to just show up and lay down all over your entire eyelid. I was actually talking to one of my friends about the Lorac Mega Pro 3, and we were talking about the colors Pecan and Toffee. So I didn't use any one of these dense brushes for Toffee because I used Toffee on my outer crease area, and I tried using like some other brushes, and the color just wasn't showing up that well. And then I told her that I like Toffee, and Toffee is actually lighter than Pecan. And she said, she's actually lighter, she's more fair than I am, and she said that she couldn't get Toffee to show up on her lid. And I thought that was really interesting because it showed up on mine, so I was like, oh, what brush did you use? And she said a flat shader. So yeah, like a flat shader will not pick up as much product and distribute it as heavily as these dense eyeshadow brushes will. And so I highly recommend these types for picking up like matte shadows for after you've put on your eyeshadow primer to show up more easily. And I'll just show you the two shades right now. So let me just gonna move this out of the way. Okay, here's my dirty Lorac Mega Pro 3. Okay. All right. So you can see Pecan is right. Crap, how do I do this? Pecan is right here. This third shade on the top row, right here, and Toffee is second shade on the second row, right here. And that is all. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.